was coming home from college to go to a law enforcement officer's memorial that worked with my dad. And I was about 15 minutes from home, and it was raining out, it was foggy, my windshield wipers weren't working the greatest, and I hit the edge of the pavement, and I corrected toward the center line, and there was a car coming, and I didn't want to hit that, and so I overcorrected, and I hit the ditch. And I rolled my car, it cracked, what was that, underneath the hood that it cracked? It hit really hard, and as you could see in the car, there was literally, there shouldn't have been any place where someone should have survived. And they said there was one place, that somebody could have had their head, and that's exactly where my head was. And so I came out with just a few scratches, wasn't really that bad, other than I broke my neck. And so that really changed my life, in a moment. I know one of my friends, she was showing her child that picture, and her kid was like, was she driving a convertible? And I was like, no, it was a Lincoln Mark 8, and it was built like a tank. And so, so that's, nobody should have survived that, and I know that was by the grace of God that I did. There was a woman that came back, the one that I thought I was going to hit, and so I swerved toward the ditch, and she came back and stayed with me until the ambulance came there. And the amazing thing we found out later was she was actually paralyzed as well, and had recovered. But when she was with me, I remember I kind of going in and out. Sorry, I get lightheaded really easily, so that was why Mike did the second verse of that song. So that's all I didn't pass out. But so she came back with me and stayed with me, and I told her I can't feel my legs, and I started to cry, and she said, honey, you can't cry, it's messing with your breathing, you can't. And so kind of had to hold it together. The Jaws of Life had just been purchased through that little tiny fire department, and my car was the first one that they used for that. So I'm very grateful for that, but it was just kind of a whole bunch of different circumstances that came together in order for me to be here today. So it was definitely a very distinct life before and after my accident, as you saw. I know some of you know very well, and others maybe not as much, but I was an athlete. Everything revolved around volleyball. My career, the choice of college that I went to, my free time, most of my friends were athletes, and that just changed everything. The one trajectory that my life was on completely got sideswiped in a moment. And it wasn't just learning not to be able to walk anymore, to use my hands like a normal person does. I think that's how a lot of people see that. When you're paralyzed, you see the person can't move, maybe they can't feel, but that's really all you can see. But it was everything, my blood pressure, just like I was saying, it drops really easily and really fast. So when I was in the hospital, a lot of times, just to sit my hospital bed up, it would take sometimes, 15 minutes maybe? So you just have to sit up a little bit at a time, otherwise I could, pass out and your blood pressure just plummets. And so it was just a whole bunch of things, and my whole identity was wrapped up into volleyball. And so I really felt lost. And in that video, you'll see you saw a picture. It was me and my two sisters, and we were outside, and one of my sisters has these big sunglasses on like this. And the reason for that was I did not want to even go out of my room. I didn't want anybody to see me because my whole identity was a volleyball player, and I could not reconcile this person that was in a wheelchair with who I was before. And I didn't want to have people see me, be so dependent and everything. And so my sister said, well, how about if we go out, I'll wear these big sunglasses so they look at me and not you. And so that picture is one of the most precious things to me. And so I held on to volleyball as long as I could. I was thankful that I got to coach for a really long time. My athletic director is here, George Gerhardt, and I was really grateful for him as well. But I coached as long as I could until my body like literally fell apart. I thought it had fallen apart before, but it really did afterwards, you know, like the stress and just trauma just kind of compiled. And then I found out I had Lyme disease as well, which at one point I told my mom, I said, I don't know if I had to pick between one, being paralyzed or having Lyme, I'm not sure which one I would choose, because I hated, you know, not being able to move and all of that, but it wasn't so much painful, whereas like the Lyme disease was just very painful. And God healed me of the Lyme disease, thank you, Jesus. In this song, you'll hear me really wrestle with God. It's very raw. I was never afraid to die. I've known Jesus since I was just little, probably 5 or 6. But I didn't know at that point that sometimes living could actually be scarier than dying and having to walk through those challenges that you never see coming. And I think I trusted God to a point. But then when things got so bad that I never even realized things could get that bad. I think I just questioned everything. I questioned why he let that happen, his existence. And you know, still, sometimes it's hard for me to put into words when something so huge happens. You know, I think I really wanted answers. And I didn't understand, and I still don't always understand, but I finally got to the point where it wasn't information that I needed. Like, even if God appeared right in front of me and told me like all of the reasons and all of the things, it still wouldn't have healed my heart. Like, you know, I think we've all gone through things and we wonder why and all of that, but you know, it's really not, you know, the information that's really going to really sink into our hearts. And I'd love to say that God just encountered me in a moment and it changed everything and I was okay with it. But the reality was really more just kind of walking through everything and, you know, questioning why. And, you know, I think a lot of times we think God can't handle those tough questions, but he can. I think that's really, just like any relationship, it makes everything stronger, being able to just be honest. And so, you know, in this song, you'll kind of hear that journey, where it's just, you know, I realized after, you know, being so angry and frustrated and not understanding anything, I could really just feel his presence through the chaos and through the storms. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I heard a quote that said, you know, if you want the peace that surpasses all understanding, you have to be willing to give up your right to understand. And that's always really stuck with me. And so, yeah.
I remember a story that you told me when you're in the hospital. When you write a song with somebody about their life, this type of life. I mean, I know her better than I know some of my friends, honestly, other friends. You still have time to do so. I know a lot about how it's gone. I remember when you told me a story when you were in the hospital and you woke up and your dad was there and you said, "Dad, hold my hand." And he said, "I am holding your hand." That hit me in the heart. And you knew. For me, it's hard to talk about. I love her. You know, I just love her. It's hard to talk about. But, you know, writing this song, I cried more than she did. Like, Michelle, did you have me cry?
I got it all out years ago.
Yeah, sure. And we talked a lot about it. Our conversations were intimate. They were like they should be. Like, I promised Michelle before we started this, I didn't want to say this, I did promise, so as we got to know each other better, I said, you know, we're in the studio recording, I said, hey, what if we wrote like your life story, like what if we wrote it down, like in a song? And she goes, I don't write songs. I said, I do, I think I'm pretty good at it. Like, if you told me what you wanted to write, I bet I could put it into some, you know, it'd be cool. And she's like, yeah, all right, yeah, that would be absolutely, that would be cool. And I came up with some chords that I love so much. I think it's the greatest thing I've ever written in my lifetime. But I came up with these chords and I ran by her and said, hey, so what do you think about these? And she's like, ooh, those are nice. And she really liked them, right? So I think we wrote a little bit at the beginning of it. We got the whole first verse done. That's right. We wrote the first verse and I sent that to her. And Lisa marinated on that first verse. I sang it just because she didn't know it yet, but I sang it. And we ended up writing that song over, how long did it take? It was a long time. I remember one night, so writing music it's not what you think, you know, it's like ideas aren't always flowing. I remember one night, so we had to get on Zoom, and then you have to adjust the audio parameters because Zoom has music canceling. So I'm playing the piano, she can't hear anything. She's like, I see your hands, but it's not, like, I don't hear it. So it took us a while to get the parameters right, but once we did, it all worked out great. And I remember that night for 2 hours, we were just talking about this, and for 2 hours we sat there and looked at each other. We wrote nothing, right? Oh, I was trying to come up with this one line, this one part, and nothing was coming, you know? And I said, hey, well, that's a wrap, I guess, huh, Rochelle? She goes, yeah. I said, I ain't getting done. I said, that's songwriting, you know? That's kind of how it goes. You know, that's just how it is. She goes to bed that night. And right before I think Peg turned out the light, she said, Mom, grab a pen. Because she had an idea, right? She had this inspiration. I gotta get creative right now. And it's one of my favorite lines of the whole song. She wrote this, and it's the. Can you say it right now? I'll say it. It's
I know what it is, but I can't
I don't want to give too much away because you're about to hear the song. I don't want to give too much away, but you're gonna hear the song. And there's a part in the song at the very beginning that talks about everything that she had in her former life because she really believed that it was two different lives. And that she wanted to be very clear with me on that is that I wanted to separate the two. It's important to me because our old life it's gone. So there was one line where we were trying to make this song what we wanted it to be in a redemptive way, and we just couldn't come up with the right words. And she went to bed and told her mom, all those dreams and everything in the first line become a seed. That's why there's a plant. All of her dreams that she had planned for her younger self and our entire future and volleyball, everything that she had planned were all gone. And she put it into this little package and she buried it in the ground. At the end of the song, she says, I think the what's up is to the bear song. We wrote this. That one, yeah.
Is it down here?
I like that one. That's not the one, that's not the one. We'll just let them listen to the song, right?
I pretty much does. You guys want to hear it?
I don't wait. But my job was to make sure she covered everything. That's the only reason I'm up here. She said, you better be out there with my outline. I said, okay. I think we have everything. We're going to talk about the writing of it and everything we went through, like the experience afterwards. But we're very excited for you to hear this. I want to thank Mark Pope. Could you stand up, Mark, for me, please? I appreciate you doing it. I know he's going to look and he's like, oh, I'm going to do it. This is one of the violin players in the song. They came over to my studio. We might play a little video later of us talking in the studio. It's kind of funny. And another guy came over, Jeremy, who also goes to my church. He's moving to West Virginia tomorrow, and we're so sad we couldn't be here tonight. He played the cello in the song and the violin. He's missed, and I know he wants to be here. He's so bummed he couldn't be here with us. But thanks, Mark, for coming over. I mean, he gets people for nothing. And there's no money in this thing, just so you guys know. This isn't a money-making proposition. Streaming music it's not a money thing, you know. This is a get the message out, change a life, transform a person. Can we hit a heart somewhere? Can we? That's what we want to do. So I'm excited to do this with Michelle. I can't wait for you guys to hear the song. Luke, you ready to cue this thing? Is there anything else you want to say about it before we?
Just when I started singing, we had to do it kind of like when I first started. It was like one word at a time, and so we kind of had to build from that. And so even being able to sing live is like a huge thing because I didn't think I would actually get to that point. So.
The reason I sent her the song was because what she told me was, you know, when I started singing, I couldn't sing right away. I didn't have any air. It had been 10 years. I had been paralyzed. And thank the Lord for Becky, right? And Becky comes, hey, when you trying to sing? You know, when you choir players don't sing. This one.